Hey, welcome everybody. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce our guest who has turned a personal necessity into a thriving business. Founded in 2004 by our guest, Tyler Ornstein, Tyler's Coffees emerged from a real genuine need. When his father was advised against drinking regular coffee due to its acidity, Tyler saw an opportunity and really recognizing that coffee is more than just a beverage, it's really a lifestyle choice for a lot of us. He embarked on a mission to create a not only low acid but acid free coffee. And today, Tyler's Coffee stands as a real testament to innovation, organic processes, and also sustainability in a number of fronts. So, really, with that vision to improve lives through one of the world's most cherished beverages, Tyler's been diligently striving to really make a difference in the coffee industry. So please join me in welcoming a passionate entrepreneur behind Tyler's Coffees, Tyler Ornstein. Tyler, it's great to have you with us.
It's an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much. I'm honored and humbled by that intro. That was too kind. Yeah, no, I
My
had this
pleasure.
I had this idea, and I wanted to create a coffee product that people could drink without having any adverse side effects. And that kind of stemmed from my father because he actually had peptic ulcers and he couldn't drink coffee anymore.
Mm,
And so when he figured out a way to not bloom the tannin and lipid acids in the roasting process, we were able to yield a neutral pH and essentially build a coffee for people that have heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach. But not only that, Crohn's, colitis, leaky gut, overactive bladder, the list goes on, right? But the
mhm.
reality is I'm so enthralled to talk to people. Just yesterday I had a lady call and say, I suffered from throat esophagitis, and I couldn't drink any acidity, nor could I drink coffee. And that was the one thing I said, I can give up all the acidity products, but I really, 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 really want my cup of coffee. And um so long story short, we were able to yield a product for patients, quote unquote patients that suffer from adverse issues in their GI tract.
Mhm.
And long story short, I think it's very important that any entrepreneur out there that's listening or is has a takeaway realizes that the only and maybe I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but in my opinion, let's put it in my opinion, the only way to be successful in this world is to actually help people.
Mm, mm, mhm. And I know that this is a recurring theme for you, really, the being able to educate other entrepreneurs and being part of that community of entrepreneurs, and really the importance of educating others that are starting a company. I've started a
Yeah.
few companies. I've been close to entrepreneurs in a lot of different areas, and yeah, that sense of community amongst entrepreneurs is really strong. And so, hearing from folks that are really making it part of their business mission, even to give back and educate. I'm curious with that, and again, I know having started the business, your business back in 2004, and building that to where it is today. While we're talking about educating others, what's a challenge that you learned from that you would want to teach or talk to any other aspiring entrepreneurs about to help them understand the battles that they'll fight, but how they can push through, and how you were successful in the end.
I think what it really boils down to is when you want to be an entrepreneur, right? When you want to create something, you have to and this is where a lot of entrepreneurs succeed, and this is where a lot of entrepreneurs unfortunately fail. You have to take yourself out of the equation, and it's so critical that you don't put your ego involved. I mean, when you put your ego into a product or into a business or into a service, you're doing it for yourself essentially. And when you do it for yourself, how many selves are there in the world? Unfortunately, there's just one of you. So if you want to be your only customer, congratulations, you have sold yourself. But that's not success, right? The way you become successful is you take yourself out of the equation and you figure out, why is this important to other people? How do I create a mass marketed product? How do I build a service or a product that customers, people, will give me their hard-earned money and be happy doing so? And that's really what is the difference between a successful and a non-successful entrepreneur. Is you have to bring your ego out of it. You have to bring yourself out of it. And you have to look at it from an outside perspective and say, does this actually make sense?
Right.
Do people actually want to buy this? Is this something that actually is going to be a viable market? And that's what I would say.
That's great. Yeah, it's great. I think, in terms of, you talk about speaking to the customer, and I want to follow up on that in a minute. But I haven't heard specifically somebody describe it as removing the ego from the equation in entrepreneurship. And I think that's just a really refreshing way of thinking about it and looking at it. And again, making sure that you're not focusing on yourself, but you are focusing on the
Yeah.
customer, which is so key. So fascinating. I appreciate that. Um, and again, speaking of customers and staying close to your customers, I know that you even will get on the phones and speak with customers, as you mentioned a minute ago. Tell me a little bit more about the importance of staying close to the customer, listening to the customers from your standpoint, and why you found it so important and so helpful to do that.
So I have to give credit where credit's due. I learned a lot from my grandfather. My grandfather was a multimillionaire. He's extremely successful in multiple businesses, but one of the businesses was cars. He had multiple dealerships. He actually sold all his dealerships before I was born, but he really explained a lot to me. And he said, Tyler, one of the most important things you can ever learn in business is, what does the customer want?
Mm,
What does the customer want, right? So if I'm doing high level things where I'm talking to customers that are, looking to buy a $1.2 million purchase over 12 months, and we're working on contracts, and I got lawyers involved, and they're, back and forth, and all this stuff, that's high level, right? That's high
right,
level. But the reality of the situation is, if you can have the ability, and we have technology now where it's kind of fun, where, you know and I'll name drop here. I use Grasshopper. It's a VoP system, and a VoIP system. And Grasshopper goes to your phone directly, but you can actually send it through a phone tree. And
mm,
so if you don't pick up, you can send it to your call center, and they handle it, right? So that's what I do. So every single call from Tyler's Coffees goes to my phone first. Now, if I'm available,
wow,
if I'm not talking to
right,
Chris, I'm gonna pick it up and I'm gonna say, "Thank you for calling Tyler's Coffees. How can we help you?" And the
wow,
customer goes, "Yeah, this is that, and this is that, and you guys did this, and you did that, and blah, blah, blah." And what am I doing? I'm saying, "Okay, I understand. I understand. Yep, I understand." So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go to my team. I'm gonna say, "Hey guys, we need to change this, this, and this." And why? Because the customer said so. Our
right,
customer is our business. Our customer is our business. If you don't put your customer first, you don't have a business. They will not pay you to mess around. I cannot I cannot emphasize that enough. They will not pay
right,
you to mess
right,
around. If they do not have a good experience in your product or service, they are not going to stick around. They're gonna go somewhere else.
right,
I use the analogy a lot. I love this analogy, is the way a customer acts is essentially the same way as herding cats. It's practically impossible, but you try your best. So when you
right,
listen to your customer and they have a problem, when you listen to your customer and they're ecstatic about this thing, then what you do is you say, okay, how do I capitalize on that? Right? Or how do I fix that problem? And if that customer has that problem, how many other people are just being quiet about it? So I could
right,
tell you, on average, now don't quote me on this, but on average, one equals 100. One customer
right.
complaint equals 100 complaints that they're just not going to talk to you about. Because you know what? They don't time. They don't have the time. They don't have the effort. They
Right.
don't have the energy. They move on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So super interesting there. And while we're on the topic of customers, listening to your customers, I'm really curious, and I want to go back a little bit to earlier on in Tyler's Coffees. Since this really stemmed out of a personal or a very close personal need there, how did you go about
Yeah.
validating that larger market demand for acid-free coffee?
Sure. So what I did is so my father had a need, right? And that need transpired into a solution to a problem. And then if he has a problem, right? This is my mind thinking. He's let me backtrack. He's an inventor. He's one of the best inventors I've ever met in material science and
Okay.
chemistry. He's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant
Wow. Okay.
scientist. He's not a businessman. He doesn't really know how to do business, which God bless him. I mean, he's probably gonna watch this and yell at me. That's okay. But and you
Yeah.
know what? I'm not a material scientist. I'll tell you right
Right.
now,
Right.
that did
Yeah.
not
Absolutely.
that did not connect with me. But I am a businessman and I know how to kind of work business deals. So anyway, I thought to myself, I said, okay, well, if he has a problem, how many other people have a problem, right? And then you just start doing research. And the other thing that really kind of is one of these like dirt to dirt moments is and let me just be honest here for a second.
Please.
Advisory
Absolutely.
Cloud is so cool because what you're doing is you're allowing entrepreneurs to talk to successful people so that they can become a better success, right? So one of the things that and I've done some advisory already on your platform and I absolutely love it. One of the things that I tell people is I say, guys, the least amount of resistance is the best way to go. The least amount of resistance is the best way to
Mm.
go. What do I mean by that? Google. We have the 21st century at our fingertips now. This is
Right.
unprecedented in the history of business. Use that resource. It's free. It's free. FREE. It's free. Google everything. And I mean everything. Research, look, click on links. Do your due diligence on things. Like there was this
Right. Right.
one company and I was talking to them and they were like, well, how do we do the market? Blah, 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 blah. And I said, here. And I just started sending links to them. And they're like, wow, Tyler, you're so smart. I'm like, man, I'm not really that smart. I'm
Googled.
just,
I
I'm
Googled it.
just using, I
Right.
Googled it. I'm using the resources that I have at my whim to benefit myself, right? Or benefit the
Hmm.
company. So what I'm trying to
Right.
say is, how did I know that there was a need? How did I know that there was an industry for it? I Googled it. I Googled how many people have stomach related issues in America. I Googled what are the major issues with peptic ulcers and what are other correlating GI issues, right? I started looking and I found that there was tons of charities that were built around these problems. 60 million
Mm.
Americans suffer from stomach related issues back in 2016. It's only gone up. It's probably 80, 90 million people now. 80, 90 million people can't have coffee because it hurts their stomach because of the acidity.
Wow. Wow.
That's a market.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, fascinating and great points. The information is out there. Do the research. I think that's great advice for all entrepreneurs. While we're on that real quick in terms of advice for entrepreneurs, and I want to go back and talk about growth and what sustainable growth means for you. But while we're on that topic of excuse me, entrepreneurs, what is some advice that you would give to someone that feels they have a great business idea, but feels overwhelmed by that process of taking those first steps to starting that business?
Sure. So I have done that. Uh, I just got out of a horrible situation. I won't go into depth about it. What it did is it gave me so much insight onto who I am as a person. right?
Mm.
It's very overwhelming to be an entrepreneur. It I use the analogy, and I'm not joking. It's jumping off the highest mountain peak and assembling an airplane on the way down and then pulling on the stick and hoping to God you don't smash into the ground. Okay? It is not for the faint of heart. It is not for people that cannot handle the stress load. I'm just going to put that out right now because there's a lot of people out there. And what also kind of irks me, if I can just like sideline really quick, is these
Yeah.
Instagram influencers that are like,
Mm.
"Hey, I got my Lamborghini, I got my car, I got my cash wad. If you click on my link below, you guys can be what I can be." Well, the answer to that question is if you have the mindset, then yeah, you are going to be successful. If you do not have that mindset, if you click on that link and you put your credit card in and then you go to your 9 to 5 and then you think that it's just going to cash cow, you are deadly wrong
Right.
and you are going to fail. And I cannot stress that enough. You will fail if you do not have the mindset to succeed. Plain and simple.
Right.
So now that you have the mindset to succeed, how do you keep it with the stress? Well, I personally like to do this in my head. I box things and I say, okay, this is a
Mm.
problem. We're going to put a box on that. We're going to shelve that. And you can also bring it out of your mind. You can start writing boxes on a whiteboard and say, okay, this is a box and I
Right.
have legal. This is a box and I have marketing. This is a box and I have cost of goods sold and how do I bring, whatever. So you open that box when you're ready. You look at all of the contents inside the box. You say, okay, this is the problem. This is the solution. This is how we're going to create the better solution to the problem. Okay, how are we going to address that? Okay, what is the points that we're going to address so that we can get to that solution? Okay, great. Box closed, move on. You have to
Right.
box your problems. Now, I probably would be a bad therapist because people want to talk about their problems, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But what I'm saying is, in a business setting, you are going to be overwhelmed. You are going to have a typhoon of problems that come to you on a regular basis. And if
Yep.
you cannot compartmentalize, you cannot figure out the problem. No matter how big the problem is,
Right.
you have to
Yep.
compartmentalize
Absolutely.
it.
One of the I don't know if you've seen the movie The Martian, but one of the pieces in a quote from that movie that resonated with me in being an entrepreneur was you just keep solving one problem after another, and that's you've got to focus
Yep.
on one problem because there are going to be a million things happening around you, but you need to focus on solving one problem at a time. And if you solve enough problems, at least in The Martian, you solve enough problems, you get home. In being an entrepreneur, you solve enough problems, you have a successful business. And even then, even when you
That's
have
up.
that successful business, you have to just keep solving the problem in front of you, and focusing
Yes.
on that. So definitely agree with that. Some great wisdom in there. Um, so next up, and I've got to ask you this: you've mentioned you are an Advisory Cloud member, and for those of you that don't know
Yes.
about Advisory
Proudly.
Cloud, we have over 10,000 advisors, just like Tyler, that are looking to advise companies of all sizes on all sorts of topics. They can help you solve that challenge or take advantage of that opportunity that's in front of you in your business. So Tyler, start us off. Why did you come to Advisory Cloud, and what are you looking to gain, or rather share with the world through the advisory work on Advisory Cloud?
That's an absolutely fantastic question, and I'm glad you brought that up. The reason why I wanted to become part of the advisory cloud, essentially membership or advisor board, is I have this unwavering passion for entrepreneurialism. And it might be because I am an entrepreneur, right? So you are what you sow, and I, I just to me, entrepreneurism is the absolute foundation of everything in the world. Eh, Let me make that a little bit clearer. Without Gates, we would not have Microsoft. Without Jobs, we would not have Apple. Without Elon, we would not have Tesla. Without, you know, all of these very huge and amazing minds. Let me
Right.
also just drop a very interesting. I guess it would be like an Easter egg. The one podcast that I tell every entrepreneur to go to is Business
Mm.
Wars. Business Wars.
Mm.
Google
Hmm.
it. You'll find it. Business Wars. One of the best freaking podcasts I've ever listened to.
Yeah.
What they do is they actually deconstruct the company all the way down to the actual founding of the idea and then build it all the way. I mean, we're talking Apple, we're talking, but they do
Right.
competitors, right? So they did
Yeah.
Nike versus Puma. They did Dunkin'
I
Donuts
just
versus
listened to the
Starbucks. They did,
Hilton. I actually just listened to the Hilton Marriott one from a couple weeks ago.
yeah, I absolutely love that podcast. I get so turned on by it, to be honest with you. Like it makes me like warm inside because what people don't realize is we're all just people. The only difference between a successful person and a non-successful person is mindset. You got to have the mindset to be successful. But what I love about Advisory Cloud is I can go and I can sit down and I can talk to someone and I can say, okay, tell me your story, tell me what you're doing, tell me how you're doing it, and I go, okay, here's my suggestions, and they go, wow, Tyler, I never thought of it like that. And I
Yeah.
go, well, the reason why is because we only know what we know. And Advisory Cloud allows you to have the ability to pretty much walk in and say, hey, very, very influential and important people. I mean, you've got people from Ancestry, you've got people from like Ancestry.com, you've got people on there that have built multi-billion dollar companies and they allow their time to be utilized is
Right.
mind-blowing. Really. I'm shocked and awed. But anyway,
We've built a
I love
pretty
it
pretty
because
great network. Yeah.
yeah, I love it because it allows you to connect with people that are better than you. Now let me make that
Mhm.
very clear. I want to be the dumbest person in the room always. Always. I always want to be the dumbest person in the room because if I'm the dumbest person in the room, that's how I'm going to be educated. That's how I'm going to learn. That's how I'm going to learn how to be successful. And Advisory Cloud gives you that virtual opportunity to sit down and talk to people that are heads above me. But it's a scale, right? So we've got people that are trying to build their businesses and they need help in doesn't matter marketing, funding,
Right.
CFO, CTOs, whatever. And then you have these people that go, all right, I'll give you 30 minutes. Talk to me about this. And they go, blah, 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 blah. You go, okay, we're a good fit or we're not a good fit. And then you move on. And it's just a brilliant model. It's an absolutely brilliant model. So congratulations, Chris. I love it.
I I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, in terms of what you're looking to advise, what types of companies are you looking to advise, or what situations or opportunities are you looking to get involved with through Advisory Cloud?
I think the one thing that I can bring to the table that I'm really, really good at is bootstrapping a business. So
Hmm.
anyone that's like not in revenue that is trying to build, or they could be in, small time revenue that's trying to build. That's really where I can step in and help. I mean, I was just in a meeting with my father with Carlisle. They're a $16 billion company. So I have that ability to talk to those high level C-suite people. And they're, we had a great conversation. But what really gets my motor started and going is like, $1 million to like 5 million. A million to 5 million is really where my sweet spot is. If you're under a million, that's fine. Obviously, you got to start somewhere. I started on a bicycle door to door, and now we're a multi-million dollar company. And so, I mean, I get it, but I think that I don't know if my resources would be good for someone under 1 million, but I think between 1 million and 5 million, I think that's where I can really shine. Because then we have expendable money to be like, okay, we can budget this, we can budget that.
Right.
I'm not really a good fundraiser, although I do know people that are in the private sector for success, for growth, growth financials. But
Hmm.
it really kind of depends on what the company is and where they're at in their growth
Right.
cycle.
Got it. Perfect. Well, Tyler, it was really a pleasure getting to speak with you today, learn more about you, your aspirations as an advisor, and of course, to learn more about Tyler's Coffees. For those of you listening or watching, check out tylerscoffees.com. They're available there. And again, Tyler, really appreciate you joining us today for the Advisory Cloud podcast. And for those of you watching, if you like the video, subscribe to our channel. We publish new interviews every week with leading executives just like you saw here today. So again, Tyler, thanks so much. I hope to speak with you again soon.
Thanks, Chris. Same here. Take care.